you and welcome students, faculty, and Queen's College community members. We're honored to present this film, Petite Fille, Little Girl, which follows a trans girl as she and her family interact with a rigid and unaccepting system that won't let Sasha be who she is, a little girl. I love this film, and I hope that you will too. The director, Sebastien Lifschitz, will join us at the end of the film for a question and answer session, and after that, we'll have refreshments, thanks to the French Club. Enjoy.
Mais je pense que vraiment, la chose qui m'a le plus marquée, Sasha avait 4 ans. Et me disait encore, maman, quand je serai grande, je serai une fille, etc. Puis je lui dis, mais non, Sasha, tu seras jamais une fille. Et là, Sasha s'est mise à pleurer. Mais c'était pas... c'était un vrai pleur de douleur. C'était vraiment le pleur de... Je venais de foutre sa vie en l'air. Je venais de briser tous ses rêves. En disant ça. Et puis un jour, il m'a demandé une robe. J'étais gênée. Je l'ai vu se regarder dans le miroir, dans sa robe. Tellement de bonheur qu'après le regard des autres, j'en ai plus rien eu à faire, finalement.
Après le devoir. Ah, c'est conspiré, hein.
C'est bien.
Comment ça se passe à l'école?
Bah, bien, mais les très lycéens à l'école, ils sont pas très gentils.
Parce que c'est épuisant de devoir aller à l'école et se battre tout le temps. En fait, il y a des enfants qui l'acceptent parfaitement comme ça. J'aimerais bien que les adultes aussi.
On sera plus dans cette école.
Ça dépend de comment va réagir Monsieur Déjà. Toi, t'as vraiment envie d'y rester. Non, pleure pas, ma puce. Je vais faire ce que je peux. Regarde-moi, je vais faire ce que je peux.
C'est pas une question de tolérer, ou pour moi c'est Sasha, Paul.
Mais comme je dis, de toute façon, c'est son combat, mais c'est le mien aussi. Je sais que ça sera le combat de ma vie.
Tu n'es pas la seule pour qui c'est comme ça. On en voit d'autres, des enfants dans cette situation.
Qu'est-ce que tu es, toi? Tu es qui?
Une fille?
Ouais.
What an incredible film. I want to thank the directors, Sébastien Lifschitz and Sandrine Nouveau, from Villa Albertine and from the French Cultural Services for making it possible for us to screen this film here at Queen's College, for making this event possible. I want to thank everyone here as well as in Zoom for joining us today, and I encourage you to stay with us because we have the director here, and he is open to answering any questions, addressing any comments that you guys have. So please, don't be afraid. We've got microphones here. We've got people monitoring the Zoom chat. So ask your questions, please, and thank you again for being here.
How did you find the family that you based the film off of?
Well, it was quite difficult to find a family at the beginning because when I had this idea to make that film, I thought that it would be easy to go to see some associations or maybe to go to some schools and just to ask for a trans kid, but it was stupid for me, just to think like this, so fast, and because of course you cannot go in schools and just say, oh hello, do you have a trans kid by any chance? It makes absolutely no sense. And so after a certain time, we were like out of, I couldn't find anybody. And then I had this idea to go on internet and to check if there was some forum where some parents could exchange their experience with, if they have a trans kid, you know. And after a certain time, we have found that forum. One was existing in France, because what you need to know that in France there is quite no help, no institution to take care of these kids and to have the parents. And most of the time, the parents are totally lost. They have no idea how to answer, what to do, or what not to do. And most of the time, so they don't know what to think. And this forum was a kind of help for them to exchange their experience and to ask questions, and other parents can answer these kind of things. And so we have put an announcement there saying that we were looking for a family with a trans kid to make a documentary. And the first answers were very aggressive. People were very scared of the idea that we could make a film with such a family and a kid and a trans kid, and they asked us to just go away from the forum. But so I have explained what was my intention, and that I was not a voyeur, that I didn't want something spectacular so after a little while, two mothers answered, one from Canada and one from France, which was the mother of Sasha.
I have two things. One from Chelsea Amato.
One from?
Chelsea Amato.
What is that?
Her name?
Sorry.
She said, not so much a question, but I want to express how much this film has moved me. The scenes where the teacher and principal are mentioned are especially difficult to watch because, as a previous educator myself, I cannot imagine not being supportive and accepting of a student for being who they are as an individual.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you very well. Could you put up your mask for like 2 minutes?
Yeah, sorry. Not so much a question, but I wanted to express how much this film has moved me. The scenes where the teachers and principals are mentioned are especially difficult to watch because, as a previous educator myself, I cannot imagine not being supportive and accepting of a student for being who they are as an individual. I want to see them grow and learn about the world, and would want to create a safe and supportive environment for them to do so. Thank you for this beautiful film. Then I have 3 questions now. First one is from Monica Chavez. Did you initially find resistance or doubts from the family to make this film?
Okay. So thank you for the comment, the first one. And no, actually, I had absolutely no problem with the family. Well, I remember when Karine, the mother of Sasha, answered me on the forum. First, she was a bit uncertain, and she was a bit scared, of course, of the idea to make a documentary about Sasha and the family, and her family. So I remember that on her first meeting, she was a bit, well, she was curious, but on the other hand, she was a bit scared. But as soon as we had started to speak to each other, we bonded immediately, and I really liked her, because when you do a documentary, it's on both sides that we need, to bond and just to get in trust, together. And so I wasn't sure, she wasn't sure. But then after, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes, maybe even before, there was something about her. She was exactly like in the film, very intense, very emotional, but also very frank, very frontal also. And I really love her personality, her character. And probably because of course I cannot talk for her, but I think that she felt probably that she could trust me, that I will be very protective with the family, with Sasha and everybody, and that my point of view on trans identity and my intentions for the film, the whole thing probably put her in a kind of trust. So it was good. And since that moment, she said to me, okay, in 2 weeks you can come to visit me, and then I will introduce you to Sasha. Because when we first met, Sasha wasn't there. She came only herself. And then on the second meeting, I went to their home, and I could meet Sasha and the whole family, and the father and everybody. And it was a very warm moment. It was for a goûter, I don't know how to say that, for a cake and tea party with the family, and it was a very sweet moment.
Thank you.
Hi there. I wondered that there were two scenes that stuck out to me so much, and they seemed kind of juxtaposed. One was in the very beginning, where the principal's almost kind of gaslighting the mom. Do you think it's because, you wanted a girl? Do you think? I think it was the principal that she's talking to.
It's a doctor.
It's what?
It's a doctor.
It's a doctor.
It's a family doctor.
Oh, and then in the next scene with the person that they find, she's saying there's no medical evidence for this. It wasn't this, it wasn't this. You can rest assured that none of this, is true. And it made me wonder how you collected the material. Like, did you do extended interviews? Did those two, were they real? I mean, to what extent the stories were real?
Yes, they were.
Well, they were all. It's like a documentary style. Well, I mean, obviously it's documentary style, but you interviewed them and collected this information, or?
No, actually everything was really true. It's a documentary film, so the situation you see in the film are real. And the doctor from the family, what you see actually about him is that you understand that most of the people in France don't understand what is trans identity. They have no education, they have no information. And I think that doctor, they want to be mean, or to be awkward with these questions. But in fact, he did. He was, he has put, in a way, a kind of guilt into the discussion, and probably for the mother it was painful, but it's also a way for me to say this is how people think most of the time with this situation, And he's a kind of very traditional, warm doctor, and very traditional with no education at all about the subject. And at the very end, he said, "Okay, I'm sorry, but this is out of my out of my reach." Expertise, yeah. And so you should consult someone else, I don't know what to tell you. But his questions for me was very interesting, because I think he's really the incarnation of what most of the people think everywhere. Not only doctors, but the neighbors, whatever, all the people around you. And so you could feel that the loneliness of the mother for years, because when I met Sasha and the family, Sasha was already into this affirmation of her identity since 3 to 4 years. And during that time, the mother was totally alone. She had nobody with who she could speak about it, you know. Especially in the province, you know, in France, there is absolutely nobody that could help her or speak with her, understand her. And in Paris, you have like 2 hospitals, but it's quite very new, and that's it. You know? So you can imagine if you are living in the countryside or if you are living in a small town, it's quite impossible just to find some help, you know, on every step. And the second meeting that you were talking about was with the pedopsychiatrist of Sasha, and it was the first meeting for Sasha and her mother, and they were expecting so much from that meeting. That's why I think Sasha is so focused, you know, on the doctor and what doctor could say, and the mother too, of course. And because the room was quite small, and the presence of the camera was absolutely not a problem, because Sasha really didn't care of the camera and my presence, you know, at that moment. And that's why everything is so true, you know, in her reactions, her attitude, and also with the mother. They were waiting for that meeting for so long, you know, so it was a very important moment for them.
Hello. So I wanted to point out, I guess this is more of like, I don't know, I guess it's kind of like just the thing I noticed in the film. I really loved the colors in the film because I felt like they brought out that playful aspect of like childhood, and a lot of the different scenes where you got to see the children playing, or just certain, like they were doing some game with their hands, which I thought that was a really nice scene. I think those are really important things to have in this film because it shows that these are normal children, and for people who maybe don't accept that, this can be something that can help them see like these are normal kids too, and they deserve to have that childhood. So I just thought that was wonderful.
Thank you. Well, the colors of the film, I mean, the film was shot in 4K raw definition, so it's a kind of high resolution pictures. And also I was working, you know, most of the film I tried to get a very cinematic aesthetic into it, even close the fiction. And with the scope format, with the music, the way to edit the film, all of these create a kind of aesthetic that is very close to fiction, even if everything that I'm filming are documentary. So, so thank you for your comment.
Thank you for this beautiful and important film. One of the things that I noticed from the film is that you really feel as if you're part of Sasha's family, and it's such a loving, caring family. I was wondering if perhaps the fictional techniques you're mentioning with the camera, how did you create that? Was it a question of staying with the family and building trust? Or how long did it take to film that film?
Well, the film was on for a year of shooting, and well, this relation that I have with the people I'm filming is something I'm doing for many years now. I'm used to it. It's like in real life, in a way, how you interact with people. And so you have to create a kind of very warm and trust relation with people that are in front of you. And the thing is, with Sasha's family, it was really special because they are kind of people, when they really like you and trust you, you become a part of the family. But not only me, my crew also. The cinematographer, the sound engineer, my assistant, we were 4 people. And and they really adopt us, and we did the same. And we have created a kind of double circle around Sasha. The first circle was really the family. I felt really that they have built a kind of shield around Sasha to protect her from the outside, because the threat most of the time came from the outside. The school, the dance classes, or people in the streets, was always something difficult. But as soon as they were at home, with the garden and the rooms, it was a kind of very protective place for the family and for Sasha, and the brothers and sisters also were really looking to protect Sasha. And then we were a kind of second shield around her, I mean the crew and the camera and everything. So I think Sasha was feeling really protected in a way. And I remember that from day one to the very end, I could see that Sasha, month after month, was more confident with herself. That the film has given her a kind of strength that she already has at the beginning, but I think probably because for the first time she's seen people around her that were strangers. I was a stranger to her, I mean, at the beginning, and my crew too. But she could see that no one from outside were judging her. On the contrary, we were accepting her and we were supporting her, you know, during the whole experience. So probably she felt like, okay, so people from the outside can accept me and see me as a normal person. I'm not crazy, you know. And she was also very aware of the dispositif, because I remember once I asked her if I can go into her room, and her room was a very special place because nobody has seen her room except the family, because her room was full of girl stuff, you know, toys, clothes, the colors, everything was about her identity in a way. And so for her it was a very private and secret place. And so when I asked her if I can come and film her just playing with her toys there, she looked at me and she said, after like, I don't know, a minute, she said, well, okay. So we went there and we prepared the camera for the filming. And then I said to her, okay, I'm ready, so now you can play with your toys if you want. And she said, well, no, because you know when I'm in my room playing with my toys, normally I'm alone. And I said, yes, I know, but you know we're supposed to do a documentary film, so just pretend you're playing with your toys. And she said, well, no, because you're here, I'm sorry. And so I was a bit disappointed, you know, but in a way, I understood what she was trying to tell me, that she didn't want to act for the film. She didn't want to do something specifically for me because I was asking to. She didn't want to be a kind of puppet, you know, doing something for the camera. And for me, after, I don't know, 5 minutes to think of that, I thought that it was really smart and very important for me and for the film, because it was a kind of security that Sasha won't do anything that she didn't want to do, you know, and she won't be like an actor, an actress in front of the camera. That if I had to film something, it will be during sur le moment, which means something that was happening already, yeah, but not something that was staged, you know, for the camera. Is my English okay? Yeah.
I have a question from Wendy Since French gender roles and expectations are perhaps different than those here, I wonder, what is the reaction in France to this film?
Of the French people? Well, that little girl was a kind of phenomena in France, and I was very surprised of that because I remember when I started to prepare the film and just even to propose the idea, everybody was a bit scared, and because it was about a very young kid, and I thought that maybe the film could be for very few people, but it was necessary to do it. Because most of the people, when you talk about trans identity, think that it's something that goes with puberty or sexuality, but it has nothing to do with this, you know. And most of the people don't know that a lot of kids, very young actually, has a dysphoria. So it was a kind of shock and a kind of surprise for a lot of people when the film was finished and was broadcast on TV. And it has a kind of huge impact because like more than between 3 and 4 million people have watched the film actually in France, which is quite huge for a documentary film on TV. And there was a lot of reviews and articles about it, a lot of on social media also there was a lot of comments and this kind of things. So the impact was quite huge, and I was really surprised at that. So for me it was also, what was very interesting about that is that all these people was interesting in the story of that family and into Sasha portrait, probably because a new generation are very interesting into the question of identity, what is femininity, what is masculinity, and all the norms that we have in society, and the pressure that each generation, especially this new one, we feel we have to conform ourselves to the models that we have in front of us, you know. What is to be a boy, what is to be a girl, and what is to be straight, or whatever, you know. And probably the film for this new generation was something important too, I guess.
The second question is from Monica Chavez. What made you decide to make a film about this?
Well, I did many films about identity and sexuality, and I'm really interested into the construction of the identity of a person. And so it's a bit difficult for me to say that in English because it has to be precise, and I'm not sure I'm capable to do it, but I'm going to try. So many of my films were about that question. You could be gay, you could be trans or something else. And most of my films are into this kind of queer environment, queer questions, and since 25 years. But what happened precisely is when I did a film portrait about Bambi. Bambi is not the character from Walt Disney. She's one of the first transgender women in France. She had an amazing life, and I did a film about her many years ago. And I remember during a conversation with her, I asked her when did she feel the evidence of being a woman, even if she was born as a boy. And Bobby was born in 1935 in Algeria, in a very small village, where I can tell you it was absolutely impossible to speak about anything that has to do with intimacy, with sexuality, and trans identity. Even at that time was even a word that was existing. So, and she answered to me that there was no kind of a moment, like a point zero, where she can say that was at that moment precisely that I felt that I was the other sex. She said, as far as I can remember, I always felt that I was the other sex, that I was a little girl, that I was a woman. And so I realized with this answer that, so I said to her, you mean that when you were really young, like at 3 years old, 4 years old? She said, yes, absolutely. I was convinced that I was a little girl when I was very small. I started to go to school at 6. And before that time, I was absolutely sure that I was a little girl. So I realized that you could be, because like a lot of people, I thought that you could be trans, but not before your puberty. And so with the answer of Bambi, then I realized that it was wrong, you know. That of course you could feel deep inside, at a very young age, that you are the other sex and you are in a situation of dysphoria. And so I thought that it could be very interesting to make a film of a kid of today and to tell the story of that kid during a year and to see how he's living his daily life at school, with the family, with the brothers and sisters, with the friends, with everybody. And because I didn't know any film at that time with a such young age kid, you know. Most of the films that we can see on documentary or on feature films are with teenager or adult people, but not with a very young kid. Voilà.
Hello everyone. Hello everyone. JC here. Sebastien, thank you so much for sharing your new film with us this afternoon and for being with us to answer some of the questions that our faculty, staff, and students have had for you. I would like to thank Albertine Cinémathèque, the Cultural Services of the French Embassy, and also Music Box Films. Of course, Queer Film at Queens College it's a monthly LGBTQI+ film screening series is made possible through the generous support of the New York City Council, through the offices of Councilmember Drum in District 25 and Speaker Corey Johnson, and also LaGuardia Community College. The following event partners work seamlessly together to bring this event to you today. The Queens College French Program, the Department of European Languages and Literature at Queens College, the Queens College French Francophone Club, the Queens College Office of Student Development and Leadership, the Queens College Libraries, the Women and Gender Studies Program at Queens College, the Center for Ethnic, Racial, and Religious Understanding at Queens College, the Queens College Arts Club, the CUNY Office of Student Inclusion Initiatives, and the Queens College Division of Student Affairs. A very special mention goes out to some folks in the study room without whom today's event would not have been a success. First, I'd like to thank Valérie Moreau and Sandrine Nevu from Cultural Services of the French Embassy, Nathaniel Desaulnay, Carl McIntyre, and Waygard Wang from Queens College ITS Digital Media Productions, and Roland Brooks from the Queens College Media Services Department. Victoria Sands from the Queens College French and Francophone Club, and Kat Zajac from the French program at Queens College deserve big thanks, as well as Louis Villa from the Queens College Arts Club and Mel Lopez from the Gender, Love, and Sexuality Alliance here at Queens College. Faith Oyebola, Sneha Saravanat, Michelle Wen, and Christian Del Campo from the National Society of Leadership and Success. Thank you for the role you played today. And of course, a big thanks to my co-host, Dr. Karen Sullivan from European Languages and Literature and French program at Queens College. Let's give all those folks a round of applause. And for our next installment of Queer Cinema at Queens College, we will have a film screening this month. In honor of Veterans Day, we'll be screening Trans-Military, and we'll have some special guests to speak with you after the film as well. If you were registered for this event, you will get an invitation to register for that event. And for those, okay, great. And thank you to the audience for joining us today and for being part of the discussion with Sebastien. You were wonderful and the questions were terrific. So now I turn the mic over to Dr. Karen Sullivan.
Thank you to JC, who was the heart, the brain of this operation. Please join us after this event for some refreshments. Thanks to the French Francophone Club.